Hey everyone, I'm Tori Nook. I'm the CEO founder of Anchor Retail in Cleveland, Ohio. And today on the Tori Nook Talk Show, I'm honored to welcome back my good friend Beth Azor, who's one of the most recognizable names in retail commercial real estate. As sure as many of you know, she's affectionately known as the canvassing queen, and she's the founder and owner of Azor Advisory Services, where she consults, she trains, she coaches leasing teams all across the country, and while also owning and managing shopping centers in Florida. And before she launched her company, she served as president of Terra Nova, and she's now built a reputation not just for her performance, but how generously she teaches what she knows. She's also the author of Don't Say No to the Prospect, the Retail Leasing Playbook. She hosts multiple shows, including the Retail Leasing Podcast, Women Investor Wednesdays, and I Own a Shopping Center. Now what? She's also the mom of two beautiful boys, and she resides down in Florida, Southern Florida. And every year, what she's becoming very notable for too, is she brings women together for the Women's Real Estate Investment Summit. She's having her sixth event this March 4th through the 6th in Dania Beach, Florida, right outside of Fort Lauderdale, 10 minutes from the airport. Welcome, Beth.
Thank you, Tori. You just need to come with me everywhere that I go. So
I know. Well, I mean, there's so many good things to say that you do. I'm glad I fit it all in a 60-second.
I'm so proud of everything you're doing with this podcast and social, and I love it.
Thank you so much. I mean, you were one of the biggest inspirations. You realize that for me, right? To get out there, because I used to be like the hide and grind type for, 24 years. And then I decided last September, as you know, I better get on social. And
you have so much to give, right? No, but you have so much to give. And that's why I was such a big proponent of you doing it, because you have so much value for the younger people, and you're a generous person. So we just needed to get you connecting the dots between your value, your generosity, and actually delivering, which you have.
Yay, thanks to you. I mean, you're the one last January where I'm only 4 months into this, right? I mean, going on month 4, where I kind of got LinkedIn down, and then, I'm still pitter-pattering with X. I get the feel of it now, but I'm still just hooked on my LinkedIn and Instagram and now YouTube, and launching this podcast. Official launch date is actually today, the day I'm interviewing, which is, January 6th. And it's going to be on Apple, Spotify, and it's super exciting. I've just found so much value for myself and other people. Like, I'm shocked, like, people have reached out to me, like people that aren't even in real estate that know me, maybe through my kids or whatever, and how much they've enjoyed seeing my LinkedIn videos. So I hope I'm bringing some value to people.
Well, and I always say when I talk to groups, right, I say, and you've heard me because I've talked to groups that you've been in, that part of real estate is leverage, right? We're supposed to understand leverage. And what better leverage is where you can do a post on LinkedIn and get 20,000 views. I can do a post and get that many views. I can't fill stadiums with real estate people, but I can do a post and get my impression of something or my opinion of something out. And it's not who you know, it's who knows you, right? So like you said, people are reaching out to you that you're not even thinking would even care or be interested.
Right.
And that is the gold mine and the nuggets of being involved with a podcast, with social media. I reach out to people, you reach out to people we never think that we would. Right. Because it's such a great platform, no matter what platform you're on, whether it's X or LinkedIn or YouTube. If you're on one, you might as well sprinkle on the others as well.
Right. Exactly. I mean, my next venture is TikTok, which coming soon. Baby steps, building bricks here.
You've done a lot. You've done a lot in the last year.
I sure have. And I owe Beth 100% credit for my Tori's, Tuesday tenant rep tips. I mean, that idea came from you last January when I was thinking of what steady content can I keep putting on LinkedIn?
And I said, there's very few tenant rep brokers that are putting out content. And I knew I know because people ask me and I go, I'm not a tenant rep. I don't
Right.
like tenant rep. So I'm not going to give you tips about tenant rep.
Right.
So I knew there was a need. And I'm sure you've seen with the interaction that it's playing well, right?
For sure. It's totally playing well. And it's lots of fun to see what people even have to say too. I'm now doing videos because I'm finding that to be fun to talk about tenant rep tips. So since our last conversation, what has shifted the most, like in your business, your priorities, your purpose? Because you're always evolving.
So the big thing that I did at the New York ICSC is I launched Ask Beth, my AI bot.
Yes. Yes.
And what that is we put my 900 videos that are on YouTube. So now you can understand, now that you're starting, you can understand 900 videos on YouTube, my 2 books, and multiple popular episodes of podcasts
Hmm.
into AI. I hired someone to create the Ask Beth bot
Okay.
because what was happening is juniors or rookies would call me and they'd say, I have a question. I go, I've got a video on that. And they go, well, I can't find it. You can't filter on YouTube 900 videos. So with this AI bot, they can go on and say, I just got a vacant CVS to lease. And how would Beth, how would you recommend that I do it? And it filters through the 900 videos, through the 2 books, and it gives them the Beth answer. And at the bottom, it has the sources. So it will list this video. She talks about this. So there's 5 free asks a month. So if you're just a casual questioner, so we're seeing that the majority of the people signing up are doing 3 to 4 questions a month.
Okay.
And so anything over 5, it's a $25 a month membership.
Okay.
Who those people are the rookies, right? They're
Yeah.
asking 20 questions a month.
Which they should be because they don't know anything.
Well, and there's no other source, right? I mean, you can go in your boss's office every day, but
Right.
they used to call me and I would say, go to the videos, go find
Right.
it in the YouTube videos. So that's the latest. You got to jump on the AI bandwagon. My son, we talked about before we got on, he's in the entertainment industry and
Right.
he hates AI.
Oh, he
He's
does.
so mad I'm doing this. But, I'm 65, Tori, right? And I have all of this content. It's a great way for me to continue to help people
Hmm.
while I'm doing other things. Like
Right.
in on May 4th, I'm leaving to go to France and Spain and walk the Camino de Santiago, 500 miles.
Wow. That's amazing.
So for 45 days, I will be out of pocket. And,
Wow.
the content train keeps going.
Right.
So that's
Exactly.
the latest. That's the latest. It allows me to continue with my legacy, because what we do,
Yeah.
let's be real. It's not
Yeah.
rocket science. Like someone said, well, isn't that information going to be stale? I've been doing these videos since 2008.
Well, that was going to
Not
be my
much.
first question. Did you start loading those videos on YouTube in 2008?
Yeah.
So you were on
So
top
not
of it.
much has changed in what we do, right? I
No.
mean, certainly 8 years ago, I added the whole DMing on Facebook and Instagram, and that was pretty new, which took a while for people to get with the program on that. And now everyone's
Okay.
on it. So that
Yeah. Yeah.
our responses are diluted because everyone's doing it, which is great and
Hmm.
fine. But there's not much in our business. It's kind
Hmm.
of like weight loss. We all know how we should lose weight, but we continue to hire the nutritionists and the trainers and the weight loss experts
Yeah.
to tell us. It's the same thing with retail leasing coaching.
Right.
It's not changing, but there's still new people coming into the industry and there's still not a lot of places they can go for instruction or education.
That's correct. Because you're really, when you're coaching, you're mostly being hired, and correct me if I'm wrong, with large developers,
Yeah.
with large
Or large companies that want me to train their leasing teams
Mhm.
or owners of shopping centers,
Yeah.
like family offices that they
Mhm.
own 8 centers. Their vacancy is 20% across the board and their
Mhm.
nephew is the leasing agent.
Right.
And he
Right.
just graduated Duke and he's like, right. So they hire me to come. So whether it's a Brixmor or a Phillips
Right.
Edison or a Kimco, or, it's those folks that will send me their new people, or I'll go in and do things for the teams,
Mm-hmm.
or it's a one-off. Like I have my nephew is great and he's eager, but I own the shopping centers. I don't know how to teach him. Can you come and spend a couple days in our market? And then
Right.
I take him canvassing, and
Mm-hmm.
it's all fun.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. And that's the big difference with what you're doing with the bot then is it's the brokers, because unfortunately brokers don't get training really. It's very extremely rare. I mean, you're lucky if you have a mentor at your office, and where are they going to go? Right.
Yeah.
They don't have that quick 30-day training.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
yeah,
ongoing.
I did a beta for about 30 days, and I had some people around the country that were trying. The guy that built it said, break it. I want you to break it. So, ask a question that, no one's been able to break it yet. So for those of you out there watching this, if you go to Ask Beth and for some reason it doesn't answer you, call me immediately, because I want to know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, for 5 questions, I mean, for free, there's a lot you can ask. A lot.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Without having to totally, read books and books and books on it. Because I think you got to have quick answers, like fast.
Yeah. But besides that, with investing, in the start of my career, I did a lot of LP investing, limited partner investing, because I didn't have a lot of money and I didn't have the experience to run my own projects. So from like 92 to 2004, I think I did 8 or 9 limited partner investments. And then when I went out on my own and opened my own company, I think I did about 10 general partner, where I syndicated the deal. I ran the deal. I did 2 developments, bought shopping centers. And in the last year, because with the women's conference,
Hmm.
for the first 3 years, we didn't make any money. The first year we did a virtual summit, and that didn't have any
During
expenses. The
COVID, right?
second and the third year, we lost a lot of money, like $50,000. But the third year we broke even. And then the fourth year or fifth year, last year, we made 37,000. And I committed that from that point forward, any dollar we made, I would
Hmm.
invest in a woman's deal.
Cool.
Every profit goes into a woman's deal. So in the last year, I've invested, I think, in over 10 limited partnerships with women in their deals, which I'm going to show a chart this year at the conference of how, I started limited LPing, and then I went to GPing, and then it's like full circle, because I
Yeah.
just finished my Wawa development. I sold the Wawa, I sold the Starbucks strip center. I started that in 2016. So it's just 10
Are you
years.
serious?
Yeah. I bought the 2-story office building in 2016. We sold the Wawa in 24, and I sold the Starbucks strip center 2 months ago. So that's, I'm 65. Like I don't want to do this for 10 years anymore.
Right.
Giving women money to let them go do their self-storage or their
Hmm.
hospitality. I'm good with watching from the sidelines. I tell them, your kids will give my kids checks.
Yeah, exactly. That's real estate, the patience of it, the patience of the reward. Talking about what year was it that you walked away from your major leadership career?
Oh, 4.
Or that's what I thought. So that's when you started to do your own GP
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Got it. What was the real reason, why you left?
So I was a single parent. I had a son at 40. I was married. I had a baby. I was
Okay.
40, and my husband and I got divorced when my son was 1. So now I'm a single parent. I had a live-in nanny, but I worked 45 to an hour away. So I would leave in the morning before he woke up, and I would come home and he'd be sleeping. And that started
Mhm.
weighing on me. And then the big turn of events was there was a Halloween party. So
Mhm.
he was 3
Mhm.
at his daycare. And he's like, Mommy, you're going to come to my Halloween party, right? You're going to, and I said, yes, I'm going to be at the Halloween party. And so I started trying to leave my office. And I know you know this. they're following me out the front door, down in the elevator, into the parking garage, standing at my car. And I'm like, I got to go. I got my son's Halloween party. And they're like talking about a deal and I'm trying to be a good leader. So I get there in my pump, walk, like click, 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 click. And as I'm walking up to the glass door of the little daycare school thing, there he is in the glass window, bawling his eyes out that all the parents have come and gone. The party's over and he's the last kid to be picked up.
Stop. So that was the tipping
And
point.
he's bawling. And I said, that's it. And I went in the next day and I said, I can't be a president of a company with 150 people. That's an hour away from my house. And I'm not going to have my nanny raise my son. Right. So that was Halloween. Mm-hmm. And I stayed until February 4th. So it was, November, December, January. So 4 months. Mm-hmm. And helped him find my successor. He didn't talk to me for a few years after I left. He was very upset. But now we're very good friends again and back being close. He got over it. But I have a phenomenal, and then after that, I adopted my son, Mario. I could have never adopted a child and had that life that I had. So I'm blessed with 2 sons. And I just, remember when I started in 86, there were very few. I just posted this picture. And I don't know if you saw it on Twitter and LinkedIn, but it was a picture in 1992. And it was a front page of one of the business newspapers. And it said elite commercial real estate leaders. And it was 9 guys and me. And so I couldn't do that job and be a mom. And luckily I had, being a late mom, a mom of 40, I had built my career. I had money put aside. I had invested in deals. So I had the freedom to be able to say, I'm checking out for a while. Like all I knew, like the first thing I did was I became the room mom and I became the T-ball coach. Those are the first acts I did after I semi-retired. And then I just started looking for deals. And that's when the phone started ringing for the training. Ramco Gershenson in Detroit called me one day. I'd been gone from Terra Nova for about 3 months. I was relishing in my relaxing life, because I was, balls to the walls for many, many, many years. And I get a call and they like, we just hired 4 kids from University of Michigan. Can you come up here and train them? And I'm like, Detroit in March. No. And I said, but you have an office down here in Boca. Send the 4 kids down for a week and I'll train them on your assets down here. I'll put together a week training program. It was hugely successful. There's a kid. This was one of my, I love this moment. I was sitting at an ICSC Vegas in a booth. I think I was in the TJ Maxx booth, One Vegas, probably 6 years ago. And I'm having a meeting with them. And I hear behind me someone whispering, saying, is that Beth Azor? And I turn around and it was a kid from that original group of 4 from Ramco Gershenson, still in the business. He picks me up, swings me around and whispers in my ear, I just made $500,000 or some I was so happy and proud. But that launched this whole thing that I've been doing now for 20 years, this training thing, because they told Kimco, who told Brixmore, who told, they said, if you want to train your people, hire Beth.
Well, that's such an interesting synchronicity because when you left, you actually did not have a full-fledged plan.
No.
Other than you would still invest.
I wanted to invest. I said, I've done this 8 times with him. I can do, now it's a lot hard, when you
GP is like a totally
I can do that. Level. Right. And the first deal was
oh yeah, I'm going to start my own business. It's like, good luck.
Yeah. So, but yeah, the plan was to go invest. And I really didn't think I needed any, what my girlfriend Rhea says, today money. There's today money and there's investing money. Right. And but I had a lot of money and I had saved a lot of money and I was getting distributions from investments. I knew I really didn't need to do anything, but it's way better to do something and get paid for and get today money to continue to invest in tomorrow money.
Right. Now, 3 months in, they call you. I mean, you probably had to whip together your consulting contracts and what you're going to charge and
Yeah.
everything.
I didn't know what to charge. It was crazy. And I thought this would be a one-off, but I knew I loved teaching. Like I think I was a teacher in another life. So
Probably.
I loved the idea, as long as I didn't have to go to Detroit, which later on that summer I went to Detroit because they brought me back up there to canvas for their assets up there. And I didn't mind it in the summertime. But my whole thing was I wanted to go in and out. I wanted to come home and be home for bedtime.
Right.
I was so still shell shocked by that Halloween door crying thing that I was able to go in and out. I didn't have to go and spend days away from him.
Right.
Which I had to do in my other life.
Right. It's rough. Like what you did, the hour commute and back. Oh my God. That's a lot.
Oh my God. I would open the garage door and my nanny would open the door and go.
Yeah. It's like, it's so painful. I think I had mother's guilt up until last year. My oldest is 16.
Yeah. It's hard. It's not easy. It's not for the, and I've yelled at my male counterparts over, yes, I know you have a wife and you have a housekeeper and you have a nanny. I mean, I'm a single parent. Right. Yes, I have a nanny, but I'm the mother and the father.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, I don't think people, and that's the big thing I think women need to really analyze too, is when they go into careers, like, corporate America is great. You get great experience, lots of time, great training. But I know for me, myself, I never did it because I knew I could never do it, because I knew I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids, and I had to have flexibility, even though, I could be working 12 plus hours a day. It has to be like on my time, right? Without anyone telling me what to do, being a broker.
Absolutely.
You've been a 1099 like me now since 2004. So when I used to see your ad, you advertised so heavy. I remember when I first started in the business, seeing you everywhere in like shopping center business. That is like when you first actually, I realized, just then got going with your consulting company.
Yeah. And I realized that, and we would do, which I hate email blasts, but we would do some emails. But I realized that the people that are going to hire me to train their teams were sitting on airplanes looking at those magazines. Yeah. I got 90% of my business from those magazine ads.
Really?
Because the guys, they'd be on an airplane. They're the president of their companies or the VP of their leasing. And I mean, let's face it, except for maybe the last 2 years where occupancies are crazily high, like historically high, someone always has vacancy. And they're always saying, why isn't our leasing team filling vacancies faster or at more rents? It's like, we need a social media person and they're yelling at their director of leasing, but their director of leasing is doing deals with the big boxes, right? And so to have someone be able to come in for a day or two and kind of shake things up and have them, here's a different ways to look at it. I was hired by a very large company once, and the boss hired me. So the president of the company hires me.
Okay.
I show up and it's a room full of 40 guys. And the boss, not the guy who hired me, but the boss of the 40 guys, I'm walking in and he's about to introduce me. And he turns to me and he goes, I'm not sure my guys are going to get anything out of this. And I'm like, thanks for the vote of confidence. But he was ticked off that his boss brought in someone to train his team. I learned a very valuable lesson at that point, that from then on, every time a boss called me and said, I want you to come in and work with my team, I'm like, you got to get the director of leasing bought in.
Yeah.
I want to talk to that person, because if they're not bought in, it's a waste of time.
Yeah.
But I go in he introduced me and I say, so look, and they're all sitting like this with their arms folded. It's like fun. So I said, look, we're going to take a restroom break at 10:30. This is like at 8:30. And if you guys are getting nothing out of this, boss man, they can go back to their desks and we don't have to continue. Is that fair? Because I don't want to waste your time. And the boss man's looking at me like, okay. And so I start, and they're furiously taking notes. And at 10:30, I said, so anyone leaving?
Yeah.
And then that afternoon, I was only supposed to take 3 or 4 of them, like the juniors out canvassing. And I think 5 more said, we want to go canvassing with you. It was great. It was great. But I learned, no one wants someone, you don't want your boss saying, hey, I'm bringing someone in to help you with your team. Like, I get that. I wouldn't like that
Yeah.
either.
Right.
So I learned over the years some of the sensitivities,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah, you definitely had a ride on your gut and intuition dealing with that. Those are all like very touchy situations because we all know people's egos, how big they are, and especially in this industry. And to have
Exactly.
somebody below them hire you makes them look, I think the same thing. Like, do you think I not know what I'm doing?
Exactly. Exactly. Exactly.
You are the queen of branding, I would have to say. In
I like
series.
that you're wearing red today.
Oh, it's magenta. I didn't want to show you up. It's not red. This is a pink
I
magenta
love
thing. Well, that's what I wanted to, that was what I was going to ask you is, do you like red or has it like been a branding thing? Because again, since I've seen you in magazines, when I started 25 years ago, you're always in red.
So what happened is there was an ICSC in Orlando, which was our biggest one in the state of Florida.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always the week before the FSU University of Miami Hurricane football game, which was, I'm
Okay.
a huge Seminole
Yeah, because you're
and
graduated, right? You're an alumni.
graduated from Florida State. So it was a big deal. I'm always, I always was a marketing person that I want them looking at me. Like
Mm,
how can I get attention? Because attention is, the currency, right? So I decided one year to just go all out with garnet and gold stuff with buttons, beat Miami.
yeah.
And I would be sitting in an audience with, retailers up on the dais talking about, real estate
Yeah.
things. And they would be going, and I know Beth thinks her Seminoles are going to beat the Hurricanes, but they're not. And I'm like, oh, I'm onto something, right? When there's 2,000 people at this conference. So year after year, I would do the garnet and the gold, garnet and the gold, garnet and the gold. And then they moved the game to November. And it was no longer that weekend. So that it wasn't applicable anymore. So I stopped doing it. But I had so much garnet stuff from Florida State. So I would wear more garnet. I didn't do garnet and gold because that seemed a little
Mhm.
like, tacky. So I would just wear garnet stuff. And then one day I was at an ICSE. I walked in and someone said, oh, where's your red? And I
Oh,
went, and I
interest.
never did not wear red again because
Yes.
the garnet had, I guess, turned into more red things.
Hmm.
And if it was not intentional
Right.
until the person said, where's your red?
And what a synchronicity there.
Oh, and now people come up to me, they'll go, you're Beth, right? I go, I am. And they go, we knew because you're wearing red. Like some people will say in Vegas, who's the person that trains the leasing? Oh, that's Beth Azor. How could I find her? Just look around the room. If you see someone in red and blonde hair, it'll be her. And I have had people, like, I can see them coming across like a huge ballroom at a
Hmm.
party. I can see them coming and I
Yeah.
don't know who they are. I've never met them, but the red, because not many women or obviously not men, but
Yeah.
women don't wear red. They're more self-conscious and they wear darker colors. And so it works. And that's
Well,
why I wear red.
well, what's so funny is I wondered if you read the article. Barbara Cochran, the big real estate broker out of New York
Yeah,
on
I
Shark
love
Tank.
her.
Yeah, I do too. I follow her, and I mean, from years ago, I think this is maybe in 2019. I was reading an article about her, and she said that if you want to make deals, go wear red.
Oh, no, I never heard that, but good. I'm so glad she
And
said
I
that.
was
I
glad
need to
because I
find that
wanted me
article
too.
and
She
post
took
it.
pointers from Barbara.
My sister just sent me an article that said red is 2026 new color. Great.
Well, maybe because it's the year of the fire horse and feng shui, so maybe. Because the only other person I could think of that really uses color, and they're not even in commercial real estate, but in residentials, here we go back to New York residential real estate world, is Ryan Serhant. He's always says he has the Blue Ranger over the blue.
Yeah, I love him. I love his new show.
I do too. It's a definitely good binge watch. I loved him from when he started on reality TV. I think that was like one of the first real estate shows. Was I think
I
the New
think
York
so.
one.
Yeah.
When did you come up with the canvassing queen? trademark.
Another great
What year
story.
was that? Yeah, tell me the story behind it.
Yeah, this is a great story too. I think it was in '08. So I've been preaching canvassing. That's how I was taught to lease space. That's how I was taught. Day one, I was taught in office leasing. I did office canvassing and then did retail canvassing. And most of my deals were always from canvassing. And I of course, get some tenant rep deals and, of
Mhm.
course, some sign calls. But a lot of my career was canvassing. And so I was a huge believer of it. And I would preach it way before I was teaching.
Okay.
And one day I was at another ICSE and I walked up to a group of friends of mine, like 5 people from South Florida. And one of the guys said, "Oh, here she comes, the canvassing queen," and rolled his eyes. And I went, "I'm using that." And so we started, and that was in '08 when I started doing social media. So we would just say that, like, "Oh, I'm the canvassing queen," joking. And then it became a thing. And when people started introducing me, like if I spoke at conferences, they
Mhm.
would say she's known as the canvassing queen. So we trademarked it. And I
What year was that again?
wait.
Wait, wow. And just another I love the flow of how all these little synchronicities have sprinkled in between the red, the canvassing queen. It's amazing. And it's an iconic brand. I mean, if you're in commercial real estate, I mean, you can't not know the canvassing queen, right? And it's definitely your
But
signature.
I love that the person who said it doesn't know that he started it. Probably maybe before I retire, I'll go up to him and go, "So, let me
Well, you,
remind you."
yeah, I think you should. That'd be because people don't even realize what they say and how it can revolutionize someone's life, whether it's personal or business,
Yeah.
right? And,
Yeah.
you know, just major
I should
changes in
have
their
him. I
life.
should invite him on the podcast and tell the story,
You should.
the
Oh my God, that
reveal.
would stunt him. You shouldn't even tell him why he's coming on, just to see the look on his face when you tell him.
Keeps asking me how I got this. And, I don't know if you remember, but
Oh my God. Well, it's unforgettable branding. That's for sure. For someone who's like at that, they're being invisible, right? Like me, like I was for a very long time. What's like the three-part visibility? I'm making this up, like a play. Like, what would you tell them to do?
So I'd say pick a niche. So I had a young guy that was with Phillips Edison, and he
Hmm.
was a go-getter, like a hustler. And he called me up and goes, I want to be known. One person of like 40 agents, and I
Okay.
want the tenant reps to know me. I want the
Hmm.
tenants to know me. I want to do social media, but I'm, 22, like 23, 24 years old. He was a young kid.
Okay.
How can I go, well, he goes, and I don't have any deals to talk about. Like, what
Hmm.
do I talk about on social? So I said, well, what are your hobbies? And he said, well, I love to read. And I said, okay, great. So let's do Tuesdays with Tim. And every Tuesday on LinkedIn, you post a book you're reading and you post 3 things about the book that you found interesting and how it parallels to your learning commercial real estate. And I said, don't, and this is early on with Phillips Edison, and they were not big with this whole social thing. I said, just keep this between me and you. I did not give you this idea. Now they're all about social, so I can tell the story, but it's very funny. Early on, they were, how some companies, we're not sure if we want our people posting, right? Because it dilutes the brand. So I get it. But I
Yeah.
told him, don't tell them it was my idea. So they did Tuesdays with Tim. He did Tuesdays with Tim, and did books. And within 6 months, I think he had 10,000 followers because people love talking about books.
Wow.
And he was passionate about reading. And every week, if some books were longer, he would talk about the same book like 2 weeks in a row. But
Hmm.
it got him, you know, it got him really well known. It got him what he wanted. And it was so funny. I would say 2 years later, there was a guy there, Fred, and they started Fridays with Fred.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yes, I know that. Right.
He would do videos on Instagram, Fridays with Fred, or maybe LinkedIn. So that's when they had embraced social. But so pick something. Like, I have a friend who runs marathons and she lives in Wisconsin, of all places. And
Oh,
she
okay.
was like, she goes, I'm in Madison, Wisconsin, tiny little town. Her name is Heather. And she's like, I want to get the tenants to know me. And it's hard when you're in Madison, Wisconsin. It's not like you're in LA, right? But I
Right.
said, you have this gift. Every year she runs 3 marathons. I said, you can have so many parallels to
Mm-hmm.
the training of the marathon and the goals you have to set with our business. So
Right.
post on social, and talk about the parallels,
Yeah.
and then people will get to know you. And then runners. So I said, what's going to happen
Mm-hmm.
is you're going to find some retailers that are runners, and they're
Mm-hmm.
going to reach out to you because they
Yeah.
have that in common.
Yeah.
So I say, find what you are good at or what you're passionate about and
Mm-hmm.
talk about that. I said, with the young kids, I get all these calls all the time. They're college students. How do I get people to know me so I can get internships? And I say, well, get on social and talk about, what classes you're taking, for how the universities are preparing you for a career, and ask for advice. People love to give advice. You do
True.
that. You've done that great. You've talked about stories, and then you've
Mm-hmm.
said, how would you, I have jumped in and written and commented on your posts because people like to participate and give their opinion.
Then they start going, right.
So those are 3 examples of how you can, there's so many lurkers. It's crazy how many retailers, and they probably have rules of what they can do and not do,
Yeah.
but there's so many lurkers. People are watching, and I just say, get in the game, man. Get in the game. It's like, who cares? Like,
Only
I used
13.
to not, I would only post when I had makeup on. And now, I'm
Yeah,
out walking, I'm sweating. Like, I don't care. I don't care.
I love it. I know. I mean, I agree. I just found out there's only 13% of people who are on LinkedIn even post or comment, which is crazy.
I think there's a
Unbelievable.
stat. Yeah, there was a stat that I saw that said something like, it was like 0.2% post of all of the people on it. And then I always say, think about commercial real estate. We're like 0.00009. Like, people go,
Right.
I'm too late. I'm too late. There's no way you're late.
No,
There's
no
very
way.
few of us.
It's hard to get people out there. I mean, I know it just with my own business, it is hard, but you get a lot of business out of it. Like you were saying, I don't like email blasts. I feel like I don't like doing email blasts anymore either. Even I feel like social media, especially like being in CRE, like LinkedIn is it. If I was selling makeup or something, I'd be on Instagram and TikTok. But yeah, with CRE, I think
I
LinkedIn and
hate
X
email
is it.
blasts. I hate them. And
Yeah.
the retailers send me the most ludicrous. I just had one send me something yesterday. It was dear wrong name. And the tenant was like 30,000 square feet. And the email blast was for like 1,000 square foot store in Manhattan.
God.
And, if these agents don't think that these retailers don't remember, that they remember.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's just lazy. It's just lazy. Just
Yeah.
create a custom package for that retailer.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't take that long. I do this reverse engineering.
Mm-hmm.
If you did 20 deals last year and 10 were nationals, and you had to send 5 of those custom packages to get, 50 to get the 10, that's one a week, one custom package a week. That might take you 15 or 20 minutes.
Right. Well, how long are you spending on social media doing your content a week?
Not as much as I used to. I mean, I would say
Okay.
there was a time where I was doing probably 2 hours a day, but now,
Really? Okay.
yeah, now I would say that it's, I do every week I own a shopping center now, what
Right.
podcast, which basically I record 4 or 5 minutes. I send it
Mm-hmm.
to Mo,
Mm-hmm.
who I hired 5 years ago. And then she posts it. And then if I'm walking like the other day, or I'm getting ready to do the Canvassing Club Challenge on February 1st.
Okay.
So I did a video walking. They take it and they edit it and post it. I bet right now, maybe 2 hours a week.
Do you feel like you're just doing more videos versus writing content? Because I feel like you're mostly been videos.
I do write
and your
I like X. I write a lot on X. So If something, I take a lot of pictures of newspapers and post, like I just saw today that Marcus Lemonis is the new CEO of Bed Bath & Beyond. So I took a picture of that and posted it on Instagram. So, I'm all over the place. I don't have, someone said, what's your system? I don't have a system.
Right.
If I see something that I think will bring value to people, I put it out there. I do for a second think, which platform should I post this on? But it's a second. I probably just posted to whatever my instinct is, like, oh, I think this is better on.
Right. Like you're not like, I'm doing this 3 days a week or 5 days. It's like when
not anymore. I mean, I did that in the beginning. I did that. I like I said, 2 hours a day, probably. But now people probably still think I'm doing it 2 hours a day because we do a lot of.
I see more than ever.
Right. We repost a lot. I have so much that they can literally just go and repost stuff.
Right. And redo it.
And that's what I tell people that are afraid to get started or think they're far behind or don't want to put in the time. In a year from now, after you've done this for, 18 months, you're going to realize that you can, remember that post I did about the tenant rep and this deal that went wrong? Repost that because you can literally go back and say, oh, this one got the most engagement. You can repost that in 9 months. It's a whole totally different audience seeing it.
Yeah, that's very true. What I've started doing, because I'm finding these videos to be fun, is taking my old tenant rep tips now that it's been a year and doing videos.
Yes, exactly. It's again, we're not inventing, a new industry and it's not rocket science. It's just a matter of, and I coached people. So a lot of my content comes from the coaching topics.
Oh yeah. That's where my content comes from, like deals I'm working on, people in my office, even people I talk to on the phone. I'm like, oh, there's an idea. Because I'm like, how can I keep talking about tenant rep? And I'm like, here I am a year later, 52 later.
Exactly.
Oh, hilarious. So I'm excited. Obviously, I love the timing for the summit because I get to leave yucky Cleveland weather to go to Florida. And I'm actually piggybacking off staying down there because it's my birthday, March 3rd. So I am going to
Yay, happy birthday early
at our house down there for the weekend and see my mom and sister.
Awesome.
So
that's great.
So I know we touched on this in our last video that we did together, but talk about what, like the audience, like what made you decide, what was the epiphany to do this?
During COVID, I read a stat that of all of the investors in commercial real estate, only 3% were women, and half of those were inherited or women signing on their husband's guarantees. So that meant that I was part of 1.5%. And I just said that I didn't believe it. So I started asking.
It's shocking.
So I started asking my girlfriends, do you invest? I mean, the first time we met, I know I said, do you invest? I ask every woman that's in our business, do you invest? And the women go, yeah. I go, well, where do you invest? The stock market. Okay. You don't invest in real estate? No. But wait a minute. You rep Starbucks. You go find a site for Starbucks and you hand the package over to a guy developer and you don't say, can I put half of my fee in the deal? Oh, I didn't know I could do that. Or they say, I don't have $1 million and that's what you need to invest in commercial real estate. No. So I started debunking because I'm like, this is crazy. And I'm literally thinking, well, of course, this woman who reps Home Depot and TJ Maxx and Total Wine, certainly she invests. No, they all invest in the frickin' stock market. This is free insider trading we have. Like we know. So I kept drilling down, debunking the myths. It's not $1 million. You can invest your fee. You can invest half of your fee. Now, maybe the developer won't do it, but you got to ask the question. So then they said, well, it's too complicated. I go, okay, explain the stock market to me. Okay, you're right. And then I'd say, well, they'd say it's too risky. I go, my Netflix stock dropped 80% 3 years ago. That's not risky. But then the more I drilled down, they said, I don't know any other woman doing it. And that's when the light bulb went off that, okay, now I know what my seventh, eighth, and ninth inning is going to be about.
Yeah.
Because I was 60 years old when this
Mm.
happened.
Okay.
I was thinking, what, another 5-10 years,
Mm-hmm.
what is my why? And that was it. And I'm like, okay. So I did the virtual, and I had, it was during COVID. We did the Zoom. We had 100 women. I interviewed 8 women who were investors. They
Okay.
all went into those little Zoom breakouts, and that women loved it. And I said, okay, I'm going to do an in-person one. Let's see how that goes. And I lost $57,000, but I thought, but it was a huge success, and I didn't mind giving the money for the mission. And then the next year I lost 37. And I said to Josie, I'm not going to keep doing this. We got to figure out a way. I don't mind contributing to the cause. I don't want to wake up and be down 200 grand. Like, that's
No.
not right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
then we figured out with the sponsors and charge it, because I also never like to charge a lot of money for my stuff. I want everyone to come.
Right.
So I don't want to, there's these conferences where people pay $3,000. I'm not going to do that. So we have to figure out a way that but I want it to be a great feel, you've been, I want great food. I want a great, I want to enjoy it. I don't want to be in a dinky little motel. Right. So once we paid attention to, okay, income and expenses, important, we broke even. And then last year we made 37. And I'm like, okay, now this is awesome, because now I can donate the profits or contribute the profits as an investment where I can seed women's deals, which I'm very proud of being able to do. So I love it. I love the conference. And last year, I think I'm going to focus on this a lot more this year, but I learned, I'm going to actually ask this question in my opening remarks this year, but last year I learned that over 30 women in the room had invested with each other.
Well, that's amazing stat.
Amazing.
Wow. That is amazing. Because for you, is that like, what was because there's so many inspirational people. I can't even believe the people that you have at the summit, obviously, on your podcast and everything too. But what's the one story or moment from the summit where you thought, this is exactly why I do this? Like, who triggered that?
Well, last year we have a picture with 11 moms and daughters.
Oh, yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So that was my favorite moment of all of the 5 years that I had, because, there was a 13-year-old, there was a 21-year-old, there was an 80-year-old mother with a 50-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
Moms and daughters, like, amazing. So we're hitting different generations. So I was very, very, that really touched my heart. Because that happened by accident. Someone said, can I bring my daughter? And she's 13. And I said, yes, charge her half price. And, and I said, let's do a mother-daughter like package. And we would talk about it, but we didn't overly promote it. But when like the day of, I saw these name tags and I saw these couple, and I went, how many mothers and daughters do we have? And Josie goes, I'm like, oh, like, we got to get a picture of that.
Yeah. That is amazing. I didn't realize there was 11 until I saw the picture, because I did see some.
Yeah. So that's, there's so many great stories, and the interviews are great. And every year I every time I meet a woman that, is an investor, I'm like, you got to be on the podcast. And then from the podcast, depending on the stories, is when I say, okay, you'd be a great speaker. Right.
Oh, okay. That's how you find them. Yeah.
That's how I find them, from the podcast, because we do 52 podcasts. So from the 52 podcasts a year weekly, I can pick 8 speakers, and then they have to agree to go do the breakout rooms, which, 3 turns of a breakout room. Sometimes people go, I don't want to do that. I'm like, I understand.
Right. No,
that's a lot of work.
It's so much work.
Yeah.
The one thing I just love about you, and so many people do, is just that you're like so grounded, like you're so generous with and warm and open, and to help people. And because I'm not gonna admit, I don't want to say scared, but when I called you, like, December of 2022, because I felt like, I've been alone in this business lone standing woman. I know only like two or three other women that bear, it was ridiculous. I'm like, I'm just going to call it Beth. And you were just so open and wonderful. It's just been amazing ever since. And, you've touched my life just like you've touched so many other people's. I mean, what do you do to stay so insightful and like aligned and clear?
I take naps. I had on my Aura app, my Aura ring, it said, at the end of the year, it gives a summary, and it said like a million steps. So I posted that. And then I said, but I'm more prouder of this, 52 naps. I'm a huge reader. I read 2-3 newspapers every morning. I also read scripture in the morning. I read a parenting, like I have this thing in the morning. So I get up, I have coffee, I write down my goals. I write down my theme of the year, of my successes, my targets. I have this like planner. So I do that. And then there's like 3 books, a scripture book,
Okay.
stoic,
I love
like
a stoic.
philosopher, and then a parenting book. And now Josie gave me another book, Positivity Principles. So now I added 4th,
Yeah.
but they're little things, it takes literally nothing. And then I do 3 puzzles. I do the LinkedIn zip puzzle, which I love. And I do New York connections and the spelling bee. By then, and then I watch CNBC and read the Wall Street Journal and the Miami Herald. So it takes me about an hour to get through that little, and then I go work out. I usually do Pilates.
That sounds like a lot. And that takes you only an hour?
Yeah, that takes me an hour. Yeah, that takes me an hour. And I'm drinking my coffee and I'm easing into the day. And then I work out every day. So I do either yoga, Pilates, or weight training, or walking.
Okay.
Because I'm training for the Camino. And then I try to watch or read trends. Like I'm going to this new conference in February called Automatic. And it's from a guy that I found on Twitter, Eric Weatherholtz. And he does a lot of the agenda from last year's event blew me away. I'm so mad I didn't go last year. So check it out, Automatic. It's in Tampa in February. And next week, there's a retail conference in Orlando. I tried to get invited and they didn't accept my invitation. They're saying, we'll consider you for next year. But I'm always looking for, I went to shop, what was it called? I can't think of the thing, a big conference in Vegas, which is, someone told me about it. So I'm trying to go to conferences that my competitors aren't at, or that, the rest of our world's not at, so that I can come back and tell our group, this is the stuff I'm learning. And I pay attention. I remember at ICSE once, they had Dana Telsey speak, who's amazing. And my kids, and you'll appreciate this, we're all into the Supreme thing and the drops and the exclusives and all the lines. And my kids would want to go to New York or go to LA to go to the street that had the 5 pop-up stores with the drops, right? Yeah. And I would get up and ask these questions at ICSEs to the people like Dana Telsey about, what do you think about streetwear and the drops? And everyone in the room was like, what is she talking about? But if you pay attention to, like right now, the huge thing is this live shopping that has been in Japan and China for a decade. We're not even touching the surface of it. I'm trying to get my tenants, like I have an apparel, Miami Hurricanes, Miami Heat, Panthers, like they do apparel, because live shopping, you have to have merchandise. I'm begging them. I've told them I would pay for them to learn how to do the live shopping in their store, 1 hour a night. And people are so resistant to change. So I'm always trying to find out what's a trend, what's new in retail. I try to walk around and then I try to bring it back. Like I remember 4 years ago, I said, my kids are not drinking alcohol. And I said, I know you guys think my head's in the sand, but I'm telling you, they're not drinking alcohol. It is going to impact retail. It's going to impact liquor stores. It's going to impact bars. So I and people like, you don't know what you're talking about. And sure enough, now the headlines in all of the newspapers, how alcohol consumption is way down. They're doing other things, but now these pop-up bars, no liquor mocktail bars. And then And now with Ozempic and all these GLPs, the apparel industry, everyone's got to buy new wardrobes. This is going to impact retail. But I don't see a lot of people reading newspaper. I'm the only one. I don't know anyone. I go on my airplanes and I have these like a week of back unread newspapers and people laugh at me. I don't care. But I learned so much from reading.
Yeah.
And in Cleveland, when I came to Cleveland, the first thing I did was sign up for Crane's Cleveland, the Business Journal. And before I even got to Cleveland on my first trip, I learned about the entrepreneur contest. And I called Bedrock and said, we need to sponsor that. Like reading the local newspapers and the business newspapers in the markets that you're working in is so important.
That's a really good point, because people just think they're going to get their news on social media because they signed up for Cranes or whatever, but I still get the paper too. Well, thank you so much for coming back on and going even deeper today. What really stayed with me is just how you've built a life that's not just successful, but it's been intentional, with the synchronicities along the way. And you didn't just become known in commercial real estate as the canvassing queen. Like, you're just a trusted name, in the business, and you've opened up so many doors just for so many, not just women, men too. I mean, all across the board equally. You're somebody who's always like ready to go from the sidelines and to be pushing whatever's next that comes to you, whether it's like, I think the biggest thing is really now is the Women's Summit, and getting more women to invest and have the confidence and realize, yeah, they can do it. Like, they don't need to sit on the sidelines. They don't need to hand it over to someone else to do it. So I want to let everyone know where they can find you.
So,
I know, even though you're on every platform.
Yeah, bethazor.com is the website, which I think has my cell phone number. If you need to just reach out to me, DM me, text me, email me, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, and TikTok.
Yes. And Azor is spelled Azor.
Yeah.
So thanks for listening to another episode of the Tori Nook Talk Show. If you enjoyed this, please forward it. If there's something that you enjoyed that lit you up, definitely leave a review and share it with anyone who's ready to think bigger and bigger outside of the box, whether it's investing themselves on social media. So see you next time.